while Daniel 9:21 in the King James Version, 1611 AD, states that Gabriel touched the prophet during prayer. Modern understanding shows this as a mistranslation. Similarly, the Holy Quran 1917, translated by Mavlana Muhammad Ali, 1917, revised 1985, states that we sent to her our spirit, and it appeared to her as a well-made man, referring to Gabriel's visitation to Prophet Muhammad in 610 AD during his meditation and fasting in Cave Hira near Mecca. This event, from 610 AD to 632 AD, marks the beginning of the Quran's revelation. Counting from that period to February 20th, 1934, when these lessons were recorded, we have 1,302 years of Quranic history, not 25,000 years, so the symbolic renewal mentioned in these teachings cannot refer to this time frame. The Holy Quran, like the Bible, was made by the original people, the Nubians, rather than being simply revealed to Prophet Muhammad by Gabriel. Quran 44:58 affirms that Allah made it easy for people to understand in their own language. The text is meant to preserve the history of the original people, and the Quran's renewal refers to maintaining its authenticity over time, not creating a new Quran. The renewal ensures the preservation of its teachings and the protection of knowledge for the original people. The Quran's expiration is symbolically set at the year 25,000, which corresponds to 9,080 years from 1934, marking a symbolic epoch rather than literal history. The Nation of Islam is described as all-wise, al-Hakimu, possessing complete wisdom, and acting with precision and exactitude. This wisdom is collective, not individual, and reflects the original people's ability to maintain divine order. Islam's domain extends beyond earth, with references in Quran 22:78 naming the followers Muslims after Abraham, and Quran 6:128 and 10:25-26 describing a place called Darus Islam, the abode of peace. This indicates that the teachings of Islam are universal and extend throughout the cosmos. The circumference of Earth, approximately 25,000 miles, is symbolic in the renewal of Quranic history. Each mile represents 1 year in symbolic terms, so a full 25,000-mile journey corresponds to the completion of a cycle for the Quran's renewal. This renewal is carried out historically, beginning in Mecca, traveling eastward to Kufa, onto China, and returning to North America among the original people, the Nubians. Multiple Quran translations, including those by Abdullah Yusuf Ali, Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall, and Maulana Muhammad Ali, have contributed to misunderstandings and divisions among the people. El's Holy Quran, called the 25th to date, along with El's Holy Torah, Injil, and Zabur, has now been renewed by Dr. Malachi Z. York, Syed Isa Al-Haadi Al-Mahdi, restoring lost knowledge. Gabriel, one of the 24 wise men of the East, played a key role in bringing the Quran to Prophet Muhammad and continues to be a symbolic guide in the transmission of divine knowledge. The symbolic number 25,000 reflects Earth's circumference and the journey of the Quran across time and space before renewal. In practical terms, Earth's measurements are as follows. The circumference is approximately 24,896 miles, the diameter is 7,926 miles, and the radius is 3,963 miles, which leads to the inner kingdom called Shambhala, Agartha, or Carnegie. The total square mileage is roughly 196,950,000 square miles. This knowledge is necessary for understanding the continuity of history and the lessons of the original people, including the scientist Yakwab, whose studies are connected to the inner kingdoms of Earth. The teachings of the Quran, Bible, and other divine texts are meant to preserve the history and wisdom of the original people across space and time, ensuring that knowledge is renewed, preserved, and passed on accurately for future generations. The Earth currently has approximately 57,271,000 square miles of land and 139,440,000 square miles of water, reflecting a slight increase in land and decrease in water compared to earlier measurements. The planet weighs about 6 sextillion tons and travels at roughly 1,037 1/3 miles per hour around the Sun, consistent figures that need no revision. Natural phenomena such as rain, snow, hail, and earthquakes have both scientific and spiritual explanations. About 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered in water. The Sun and Moon's gravitational pull, combined with the Earth's rotation, causes water to evaporate into a fine mist that rises into the atmosphere. Temperature variations and air currents determine whether it condenses as rain, snow, or hail, though it never rises more than 6 miles above the surface. Earthquakes occur at the boundaries of the Earth's tectonic plates, where stress causes rocks to bend or slip. When the strain becomes too great, the rocks break and plates shift along faults, producing shock waves that cause shaking. Most earthquakes occur near active plate boundaries or volcanic areas, as historically recorded in places like California, South Carolina, and parts of South America. While science explains these processes, spiritual teachings attribute the order of natural events to the Son of Man, identified as W.D. Farr, born in 1877. The majority of people are misled to believe in a mystery God who controls these events invisibly, keeping them spiritually and materially subservient. In contrast, the teachings assert that true divine authority resides in humanity itself, particularly the original people. Waiting passively for aid from a mysterious deity has historically led to suffering, as the displaced and oppressed receive no help until the Son of Man, W.D. Farr, appeared to guide them. He personally witnessed Elijah Muhammad and W.F. Muhammad, and even their Farr, while Farr was still alive, according to Wallace Dean Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's own son. This account raises questions of trustworthiness. Symbolically, the teachings reference the mentally dead Nubians. Those unaware of their true selves are considered dead, and with knowledge, they are raised from the dead, akin to the story of Lazarus in Islamic and biblical tradition, John 11:43-45. The lessons categorize humanity into percentages. The 85% represents the uncivilized, those disconnected from knowledge of the true God, easily misled, and often worshipping what they do not understand. In the context of America, this group includes the lost population of the original nation, around 17 million, plus 2 million Native Americans, though globally, the figure of 4.4 billion is used symbolically. The 10% comprises the wealthy and influential who exploit the poor and propagate the belief in an invisible, unknowable God, misleading the masses. The 5% are the poor righteous teachers, the enlightened minority who recognize the living God, the Son of Man, and teach freedom, justice, and equality, guiding all human families toward civilization. Civilization is defined as knowledge, wisdom, understanding, cultural refinement, and disciplined pursuit of life, in contrast to savagery. The duty of the civilized is to teach the uncivilized, guiding them in knowledge, peace, love, and happiness. Failure to perform this duty carries consequences, though the enforcement methods in some interpretations, such as physical punishment, are viewed as misapplications not supported by true Islamic teachings. The text also examines the origins of W.D. Farr. According to Elijah Muhammad, Farr was born to an unalike mother, which symbolically makes him different from the black population he came to teach. This interpretation has been debated, as a Caucasus mother challenges the notion of a pure divine seed. Symbolic stories like the biblical Jacob and the Yakwab of the Nation of Islam illustrate the principle of attraction. The unlike attracts the original people, representing spiritual and social dynamics rather than literal ancestry. The teachings incorporate historical influences, including the Moorish science temple of Noble Drew Ali, and use symbolism derived from Freemasonry and biblical references. The story of Jacob, Moses, and the Torah, or Enuma Elish tablets, is interpreted symbolically to explain creation and the origins of knowledge, emphasizing the need to understand the allegories rather than taking them literally. The story of Yakwab, as found in the Holy Tablets, Chapter 3, Karama, the scientist, draws directly from ancient Anunnaki records, providing an account of true events. Symbolically, Yakwab is the same figure as Jacob in the Bible. According to these tablets, the chief of the Dunakiel, Rabboni Fuker, the Black Seed, was forced into a political marriage with Lucinas, a brown-seeded daughter of a rival chieftain, Lamza, to establish peace between their peoples. Lucinas bore no children with Fuker and secretly left to join Fuker's brother Yitzchak in the enclosed garden, where she had a child, Yakwab, out of resentment and defiance. Yakwab, known as the big-head scientist due to his unusually large cranium, grew up with a desire for revenge against those who scorned him. Influenced by the Pleiadians, he envisioned creating a new race that would rule over his own people and eventually the planet. This plan was conceived 8,400 years ago and was intended to take 600 years to complete. Yakwab's creation, initially called Adam, was made in his image, a human of weakness, jealousy, and inferiority, designed to assert control over others. His wife was named Lilith, not to be confused with later figures in other traditions. Yakwab's experiments led to the creation of a new race, often referred to as the Halabeans, Fluggelrods, or Sheshbazar/Shabaza/Shabaz. These people were selectively grafted from different populations, the black-skinned original humans, red and yellow races, and pale cave dwellers, to form a genetically and mentally manipulated group. His work laid the foundation for future attempts at engineered supremacy, with parallels drawn to historical figures such as Hitler. The location for this experimentation was Pellon, or Patmos in the Aegean Sea, later called Pelion in Thessaly. Yakwab's process of creating his devil race and training them to rule lasted 600 years, culminating around 6,600 years ago, fulfilling prophecies set forth by the wise Magi 8,400 years before his birth. Yakwab's determination to mold a new civilization was evident even in his childhood when, at age 6, he discovered magnetic forces while playing with steel, foreseeing the manipulations he would later perform. The story emphasizes the blending of physical and symbolic traits. Yakwab's large head derived from his Danakil and Taro ancestry, while his mother's rebellious spirit drove much of his purpose. Archaeological evidence of skulls matching these descriptions has been discovered, lending credibility to these ancient accounts. Yaqub's creation of the devil followed strict rules and regulations designed to control reproduction and shape the new race. His first mandate was that all followers be healthy, strong, and capable of reproducing. Those who did not meet these standards were sent away. Marriage was set at age 16, and laws were established to ensure compliance with his plan. Birth control was central to Yaqub's system. His laws instructed the elimination of black children while preserving brown children. Doctors, ministers, nurses, and cremators all had specific roles in enforcing this law. Doctors examined potential couples, determining who could marry, while ministers officiated only unions that fit Yaqub's requirements. Nurses were tasked with killing black infants at birth, often through injections or by placing them in the care of wild animals, while telling mothers their children had ascended to heaven. Brown infants, by contrast, were to be nurtured and educated to fulfill their potential. Cremators were responsible for disposing of eliminated infants and were also under strict penalty for disobedience. Any failure to follow these laws was punishable by death. Yaqub's goal was to create a new, weaker race, the Flugelrods, through a process of grafting and selective breeding over 600 years. This new population was genetically and mentally weaker than the original black man, with reduced brain capacity and physical strength. The original black man possessed 7.5 ounces of brain, while the devil had only 6 ounces, and physically, the devil was only about 1/3 as strong as the original man. The devil, as defined by Yaqub, is a grafted human made weak and wicked. He could not be reformed. Prophets attempted to guide him but could not succeed. The only way to restore a devil was to graft him back into the original lineage, a process requiring 600 years. Because this was impractical, the alternative was to remove the devil from the planet. Yaqub's followers obeyed his laws without question. Disobedience was met with immediate death, eliminating the need for prisons. The plan was entirely effective because of strict adherence and the fear of enforcement. The timeline of the devil's civilization is precise. According to Yaqub's calculations, the process began approximately 6,020 years before 1934 AD, placing its origin around 7,954 years ago. The reign of the devil was prophesied to end in 1914 AD, though other sources project an ultimate end near the year 2000 AD, marking the conclusion of a 6,000-year period of rule over the planet. Yaqub's experiment involved not only genetic manipulation but also strategic placement of populations. The original black man, the Asiatic black man, was the first human and the divine seed. Other groups, including Caucasus, were grafted from the original seed and considered wicked due to their derivation. Meanwhile, populations such as Turks, Chinese, Japanese, Filipinos, Arabs, and Latin Americans, though not original, were allowed to interact in temple meetings because they were partially grafted but not entirely wicked. Yaqub's plan also relied on precise geography. Kidnapped Tides were relocated to a land called Nod, along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, far from their original home. Symbolic references to the constellations, particularly Orion and Sirius, trace the cosmic origins of these groups, highlighting a larger metaphysical framework for Yaqub's work. Vishnu, also called Narayana, is described as the overseer of the soul universe in certain postgraduate teachings. According to these teachings, early Hindu beings, sometimes referred to as demons, played a key role in the creation of humanity. Among them, Jagannath, a warrior of topaz skin with both male and female attributes, exemplified the hermaphroditic nature attributed to these beings. These entities, considered the real devils in some traditions, carried sacred texts such as the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and were said to have bred the original Asiatic black man, characterized by black skin, black eyes, and straight black hair, creating what is called a black devil. The Asiatic black man, including groups like Malaysians and Japanese, was distinct from later grafted populations. A later figure, Adam, created about 6,000 years ago, was made in a lighter image, with leper skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair, reflecting a mixed lineage with wavy hair and dark olive skin. Similarly, the Cushites, descendants of Cush, descendant of Noah, arrived from the region historically known as Sumeria or Babylon, modern Iraq, and contributed to human diversity. Mizraim, another son of Ham, gave rise to the Egyptians, originally called Mitzraymites, distinct from the Asiatic black men. A key question in these teachings is why God created the devil. The answer: to demonstrate divine wisdom and power. The devil was designed as weak and wicked, ruling the earth for 6,000 years to showcase God's justice and ultimate supremacy. Followers were taught that God is present and observable everywhere, though certain interpretations have led to misunderstandings about his omnipresence. W.D. Far Muhammad is emphasized as a prophet, not God himself, guiding believers to prepare for the devil's eventual removal from the planet. The timeline of the devil's rule is central. From 1914, the devil's dominion was extended for 52 years, culminating in June 6, 1966, a symbolic date tied to the beast number 666 and the opening of the seventh seal, marking the beginning of the devil's downfall. The period also corresponds with cycles of 25,000 years, reflecting cosmic renewal, including the migration of Shabaz's people from Asia into Africa 49,000 years ago. These cycles represent periods of destruction and renewal, where knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are restored to the planet. God gave humanity a reminder of the cycles of time, teaching that work occurs over 6 days and rest on the seventh. These 6 days, combined with other symbolic sixes, form 3 sixes, 666, the number described in Revelation 13:18 as the number of man. In this context, the man is the black man, whose experiences reflect cycles of labor, rest, and the extension of time. The 66 represents an added 60 years, an extension that allowed the enemy to remain unaware of the timing of their end. When a man dies, he rests from his labor. Similarly, divine cycles dictate the rise and fall of civilizations. Allah, who manifested as Master Far Muhammad, revealed truths long hidden from the black people, who had been under the rule of Caucasus for 6,000 years. Signs of the end of this era are evident in the heavens and on earth. Human exploration, like sending cameras to other planets, confirms that no other civilization matches the wisdom of humanity on earth. We are the wisest beings in the universe, the true gods of creation. Time and cycles are central to understanding this history. The moon's number is 66 trillion years, while the Caucasus span is 6,600 years, from creation to end. All races today were created from the grafting of the Caucasus by Yakwab, drawing from 4 primary colors: black, brown, yellow, and white, and their intermixing. These cycles, repeated through 6 periods, reflect the stages of creation and restoration described in the Quran. Elijah Muhammad understood the significance of these cycles and the number 6. Different Adams and Eves appear in each cycle to renew the planet. For example, Noah and his family served as Adams and Eves for their time, tasked with replenishing the earth after the flood, Genesis 8:15-9:1. Similarly, in later moon and sun cycles, successive Adams, such as Labana, Canaan, and Salah, Eve, Kadmon and Nekeba, Lamu and Lahamu, brought knowledge, civilization, and renewal in periods of 6,000 years each. The history of these cycles spans 50,000 years, from light to darkness and back to light. The current era marks the end of the last moon cycle and the beginning of a new sun cycle. The last 6,000 years were dominated by the rule of the Canaanites, beginning with the birth of Canaan in 4004 BC. Counting forward, this period concludes near the late 20th century, completing the cycle and allowing for the renewal, correction, and restoration of humanity's true story. Truth has come, and only those endowed with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding can fully perceive it. The cycles of time, the lessons of 6,000 years, and the divine reminders of labor and rest serve to guide humanity toward enlightenment, restoration, and mastery over the earth.